Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we will be going over all of the top 25 lists, and we'll be judging, did the CFP poll did it right? Have they lost all credibility again? A lot of people were saying that going into last week. We'll see if that's still kind of the narrative. Starting off, number 25, Kansas. They've kind of gone through a weird situation. They lost their Q. Of course, Jalen Daniels going through a weird situation, got the back problems. Maybe they'll try to redshirt him. We don't know. But he hasn't played a game this year. And then Jason Bean, he gets hurt in the Texas Tech game. They end up having to play their third string QB in a game that they lose 16-13 and just a ugly slugfest against Texas Tech. I think Kansas still does deserve to be in the top 25. They didn't have their starting QB in the game. Well, not even their starting QB, their second string QB who's played well. Well, so I think they still deserve to be top 25. I think they are a top 25 team. Some other teams that you could put here, you could put James Madison in here, but of course James Madison going through a lot of controversy with the NCAA because of, they can't make a New Year's Six, they can't make a bowl game. They're not eligible because of the fact that they just joined the FBS from the FCS. So there you go. Tulane ranked 24. I don't think Utah. I don't think. Well, we'll get to Utah in a bit. I don't think Tulane is that great of a team. I think Tulane is good, but I would like to see a team like like a group of five team like SMU ranked over them. They have one more loss, so Tulane has the better schedule in terms of strength in terms of their record. They've won more games, of course. But I just think SMU, they look better. They look like the better team, especially on offense. Tulane really hasn't got anything going. I mean, I know East Carolina has looked good, but I mean, still almost losing to them. They've just had a lot of close games that they haven't been able to win dominantly. Where SMU, the games that they should have won, for the most part, they have won and they've done it dominantly. So I'll put SMU in here. Also, most likely, I would rather just see SMU in a bowl game. In a New Year's Six bowl over Tulane, just because Tulane made it last year, and that's usually what they do with the group of five teams. So we'll see if that happens this year. Oklahoma State, I called it. I didn't think they'd get blown out by UCF because the way they got blown out, oh man, that was terrible. But I did say they were going to lose, and there they went. They lost to UCF, and now they're down to number 23. All I can say is the run is really over. Utah, they're not overrated anymore. They're down to 22. 18 wasn't even that much overrated, but I think this is kind of the perfect spot for Utah. 22, 21, 23 is. I think Utah be a good team. They've got a good defense, and their offenses look solid, but I don't know. They're just something with Utah. It's just not great. It's not great. It's not great. I think Utah, they probably could be better if they had Camp Rising, but they don't. So, I mean, yeah, they just got to persevere. Kansas State. Kansas State, I think they deserve to be at the 21 slot. Me personally, I would probably put Kansas a bit higher, but I understand why Kansas is 21. Of course, they've lost 3 games, but they've looked very good. Good. The losses they've had come to number 7 Texas and number 9 Missouri, which we'll get to. We'll get to Missouri in a little bit. But those 2 of their 3 losses, Kansas State looks really good. Will Howard looks good, and I think Kansas is a really good football team. But it makes sense why they're at 21. I would put them ahead of North Carolina, who we're getting to in just a little bit. As now we talk about North Carolina. North Carolina, they're 8-2. Probably also why they're ahead of Kansas State a little bit. They look good. They did get upset by UVA and then the Georgia Tech, but they bounced back and they deserve to be in the top 20. That's all I can really say. I I thought North Carolina was a bit overrated from the start, and it turns out they were. But still, they're a solid team. But they were definitely overrated a bit early in the season when they were ranked inside the top 10. They were definitely overrated, and that kind of got proven. Number 19, we've got Notre Dame. Man, I've been saying this for a while, but I just feel bad for Notre Dame. They had those couple of those stretch of primetime games in a row, and that really hurt them. If they put 11 men on the field against Ohio State, they probably win that game. And Louisville, that loss against Louisville, that was a winnable game as well. Of course, they lose to Clemson in bad fashion. That one was bad, and now they dropped to 19, and now they're just really irrelevant. They're not getting to a New Year's Six bowl game. Man, Notre Dame, I think they've played really well, but it's just a couple games it's hurt them. Number 18, it is Tennessee. Tennessee, they kind of deserve to be at this spot. They got whooped by Missouri. I mean, Missouri dominated them throughout that whole game. That game really wasn't close. It was a domination by Missouri throughout, and yeah, Tennessee deserves to drop. Next up, 17, we've got Arizona. Whoo, Arizona, they look good. I've been predicting some Arizona upsets for a while. I predicted Arizona to beat USC. They couldn't do that, but I have predicted them to get some good quality upsets, and they definitely have. Have Noah Fafita, he looks great. Just as a freshman, just imagine what he could do the next couple of years. That offense is clicking on all cylinders. The defense, it's not great, but it can get a stop. It can get a stop when it needs to. It can definitely get stops. And yeah, I think Arizona, they look really good. Iowa 16, maybe we should take a little slack for Iowa. No, no. Who's giving? So Iowa's offense is just too bad, but they are 8-2. So, you kind of have to give them some props a little bit. They go up to number 16. They've got a great defense. I mean, that defense is incredible. And I feel bad for those defensive guys. Their offense can't do anything, but maybe their offense can kind of turn it around. They had a good game against Rutgers. I think they got over 400 yards for the first time, and I don't know how many it's been. They haven't done it all season. I know that much. LSU comes in 15 and makes sense. LSU, if they beat Alabama, were a two-loss team. Of course, they'd be conversation. Could they make it to a CFP? Could they make it to the college football title game? Of course, that doesn't happen. They've got a great defense. They've got studs. Jaden Daniels. They've got Brian Johnson. They've got Malik Neighbors. But when you're not really able to get stops on defense, that's gonna haunt you. And that's really what happened against Alabama. They kind of got some lucky breaks with the missed field goals, but still their defense just wasn't. I think they generated maybe one punt, maybe two the whole game. It was not great. Number 14 is Oklahoma. Me personally, I would put Oklahoma ahead of Ole Miss and ahead of Penn State. So I put Oklahoma at 12, but I see why the committee has them at 14. I think Oklahoma is really good. Of course, Dylan Gabriel. West Virginia, don't count out West Virginia. They just beat BYU, who's not that bad of a like BYU. They're not great, but they're not like this terrible team, and they beat them 37-0. And then Oklahoma comes in 59-10. Dylan Gabriel puts up 8 touchdowns. I've been telling people Dylan Gabriel is a top 7 to top 8 QB in college football. People don't want to listen to me, but they really should. He is him. He is that guy. And I don't know if he needs to be mentioned in the Heisman, but he needs to be mentioned as one of the best QBs in college football. Next up, we've got the Ole Miss game. Some people were saying, Ole Miss shouldn't drop that much. They played the best team in the country, so, they shouldn't drop that much. I guess, but 52-17. I don't care who you lose to. 52-17 is horrible. I don't care if this is the greatest team of all time. If you are the number 9 team going into that game and you get beat like that, you deserve to drop. But I think Ole Miss has dropped into a pretty good place. They're at 13. I will probably put Ole Miss ahead of Penn State, and then have them drop down 1 to 13, and then put Oklahoma at 12 and put Penn State at 14, but that's just me personally. I understand Ole Miss, other than that, they've looked really good all year, but, now they've had just those 2 losses to the 2 best teams in the SEC, Alabama and Georgia. So, yeah, we'll see. Ole Miss probably will make a New Year's Six bowl game now, and that's well deservedly so. But we'll see how Jackson Dart. We'll see how he is. Of course, got injured in that game against Georgia. Penn State. Here's what I have to say about Penn State. Number one, I gotta stop trusting Penn State. I gotta stop doing it. I don't know why I do it. I don't know why I did it. I gotta stop trusting Penn State. Number one. Jesus, man. They never show up. But that's not the point right now. Penn State coming in at number 12. And, of course, I think they should be lower. I mean, I might even put LSU over them. Maybe you can't go that far, drop them all the way down to 15. But, I mean, number one, they can't get anything going on offense, and we've seen that. They don't have the big playmakers to really do much on offense. Allard didn't look great. That defense, I mean, it's played well, but you guys let them run nearly 30 some odd times in a row on you. They didn't even throw a pass in the second half. Technically they did, but it was a PI. They didn't throw a recorded pass in the second half, and you lost by 9 points. That is unacceptable. And until Penn State can beat Ohio State or Michigan, we should just declare them as irrelevant. Because every year we get hype, it looks like they're doing something different, and then maybe they can win. No, they can't. Until we see them actually win, they're pretenders at this point. They can't be contenders until they beat Ohio State or until they beat Michigan. Wow, I don't know if you heard that. Car just zoomed by. Number 11, it is Oregon State. I would probably put Oregon State ahead of Louisville. I just have some questions about Louisville. I don't think Louisville is the second best team, and I don't think Louisville will make it in the ACC, and I don't think Louisville will make the ACC title game because I think they'll probably slip up. I think they slip up to Miami, actually, in this game. We'll go over our college football playoff. We'll go over our college football picks in a second. But I do not see Louisville making the ACC title game. I see North Carolina doing it. Oregon State, they've played really well the past couple of weeks. They've got a big game against They've got 2 big games back to back. They've got the big game against Washington this week, and then next week they've got another big game. This time it'll be against Oregon, and we'll see if they can try to win at least one of those games, and if they win both of those games, make it to the Pac-12 title game and win, then what happens? Can a 10-2 Oregon State team make the CFP? We'll see. Already kind of talked about Louisville a little bit at 10. Already just kind of gave my feelings about them. So we'll move on to number 9, Missouri. It is well deserved. They beat the crap out of Tennessee. They destroyed them. And it's well deserved. Of course, the offensive potential is there. The defense can get stopped when they need to. Yeah, number 8, number 7. I'll kind of cover these in one. I personally would put Alabama ahead of Texas. Now, I know Texas beat Alabama, but this is a different Alabama team. And I think if Alabama plays Texas right now, I think Alabama wins that game for sure, but I understand why the committee has Texas over Alabama. It's just Texas. They just hang in with these close teams that they're supposed to beat. I mean, TCU, Houston. I mean, people were talking about, Quinn Ewers was hurt, so now that he's back, they'll beat They lost by 3 points. So that argument of Quinn Ewers is hurt, he's injured, he's not in the game, that doesn't matter. That doesn't count anymore because he's in the game, and you guys still almost get beat. So at this point, I have to see Alabama ahead of them, me personally, because Alabama has played better. They beat the teams like Kentucky. If they beat them up, I'm not saying Kentucky is some god squad or something, but Kentucky is not a bad team by any means. Next up, I'll cover both of these in order again. We got Oregon 6, Washington 5. It makes sense. I think Oregon is played better than Washington, and I do think Oregon should be ahead of Washington, but it makes sense why they are not. I don't have a problem with them not being ahead of. I don't have a problem with them not being ahead. So yeah, I don't have a problem with Penn State. I mean with Washington, Oregon. I don't have a problem with that. I do think Washington should be below Oregon, but I'm fine with that. And then for Florida State, Michigan, that makes sense. I don't think we really need to talk about those. Florida State, whew, I'm having some question about Florida State because they just keep getting into these close games where they're almost losing. Now they're kind of getting copped out. They're not losing, but it's close. I could definitely see Florida State tripping up in the ACC title game or just getting blown out in the CFP, kind of like they did against Oregon those years back. Michigan, number 3, they got a good win against Penn State, but they still have to stay 3. Finally, I'm an Alabama fan even, but finally Georgia is number 1 by the CFP committee. They blew out Ole Miss, and that was enough finally for Georgia, who's been playing like the better team all year, to get ahead of Ohio State. Ohio State forced to do to 2. Ohio State's just had some they've had some warning games, like that game against Rutgers where they were just kind of pulled away in the fourth quarter in a game that they really struggled with. Like that was really bad. So, but yeah, Ohio State stays number 2. Drops down to number 2, and yeah, that makes sense. And now that we've done that, we'll go over all the CFB games for this week, college football games for this week, and we'll make our predictions. We're doing all of the ranked games. I think these games are based off of. Actually, no, I gotta check because I think these games are based off the AP poll, and nobody uses the AP poll except for Google for some reason, because I don't really know why. Why is Google? Why does Google? Why does Google? Well, why the AP? Nobody uses the AP poll. After the CFP poll comes out, literally nobody uses the AP poll. I am kind of ranting here. Yeah, I'm definitely ranting for sure, but I don't care. I don't care that I'm ranting. This needs to be stopped. This needs to be stopped. Why? I just don't get it. I don't understand why they use the AP poll. It doesn't make sense. Because now I have to go and I have to look up college football on the ESPN app instead of just being able to instead of just being able to kind of use Google. No, now I have to look for a whole different kind of website to do it, just because Google doesn't want to use it. It's just annoying. It's just very annoying. It doesn't really make sense at all. It's dumb, stupid. I don't get it. I really don't. I really don't understand it. I really don't. But let's go over all the games. First off, we've got Alabama taking on Chattanooga. This should be an absolute dominant. I don't even like predicting these games just because of the fact that Alabama's probably gonna sit their starters by the third quarter. So you kind of don't have a read on what the score is gonna be. I'm just going to say 52-10, Alabama wins. Next up, we've got Michigan going into Maryland. Big noon Saturday. They've got to get as much views as they can. Michigan, the whole stealing allegation going on there. Of course, they're going to court Friday to see if Jim Harbaugh can actually coach. He probably won't be. I think Michigan, of course, 19.5 point favorites. I think Michigan beats Maryland by a lot. I'll say final score 30, Miss Maryland, oh no. I'll say 35-13. Michigan just kicks Maryland. Louisville and Miami. Miami is half a point favorites, basically meaning this game is a pick 'em. And you heard me while I was going over the rankings. I am taking Miami on the upset. They looked really good against. Florida State. Williams, he should not start. If Tyler Van Dyke starts, for sure Miami wins this game. Tyler Van Dyke should start. I don't know why he wouldn't. He played better. He's just better than Williams. So start Tyler Van Dyke and you win this game. If you don't start Tyler Van Dyke, I don't know. Next up, we got Rutgers taking on Penn State. I gotta take Penn State in this one. Penn State, 20.5 point favorites. I think this one could be a little bit closer. I don't think Penn State will cover. I'll say the final score of this game will be 27-12. I don't see this being high scoring, but I do see Penn State kind of bouncing back, and I do see them winning. Yeah. Next up, we've got UL Monroe taking on Ole Miss. This is, I don't even know, 80-0. Ole Miss, it could have, with the way college football, with the way some of these games have had, it could happen. I don't know. Final score, 100-0. Ole Miss wins. Next up, we've got Oklahoma taking on BYU. 24.5 point favorites is Oklahoma. I am very high on Oklahoma, but I see this game being a bit closer. I'm gonna take Oklahoma to win it, 30-24. Of course, this is. I'll take it 33-24. I think Oklahoma will win by 2 possessions. Of course, this is a 12 p.m. game. Is this gonna be a 10? What? It's gonna be a 10 a.m. I think Mountain Time start for BYU. What? This doesn't make sense. This is gonna be a 10 a.m. start time, which is 12 p.m. start time for Eastern Coast where I live. But in Mountain Time, it's gonna be, of course, 10 a.m., which is weird. No games really start at 10 a.m. But okay. No games that are played in the Mountain usually start at 10 a.m. But okay. So I think this game, we could definitely see Oklahoma, be in a bit of a closer game against BYU. But I do think Oklahoma will pull it out, although the final score of 33-24. Next up, we've got Tulane versus FAU. I've been thinking about an upset for this one. I'm not going to take it. I think Tulane wins. They hold on. They go up to 10-1. Ooh, okay. This should be an interesting game. 2:30 p.m. Oh. Of course, this game's on the Pac-12 network. Anybody has the Pac-12 network. You couldn't put this game on any. The game on Fox is Oregon and Arizona State at 4 o'clock. Why didn't you put Utah and Arizona, a ranked v ranked matchup on Fox, and move Oregon, Arizona State, a game in which Arizona State is terrible? Move that game to the Pac-12 network. That just makes a whole lot more sense. But that's not what we're talking about right now. I'm kind of just ranting. I'm taking Arizona in this game, and I'm taking them a bit bigger. I'm going to say 42-31. I think Arizona has a day on offense. Noah Fafita, 5 touchdowns. No, not 5. 5 touchdowns. Count it. Take it to the bank. Arizona wins by 11, 42-31 in a very higher scoring game. Next up, we've got Georgia taking on Tennessee. This game, of course, is kind of lost value because we just saw Tennessee lose to Missouri, and I think Tennessee will lose to Georgia. I don't see this game being that close. I'm gonna go 27-12. I don't see this game I think Georgia just kind of dominate. No, actually, no. I think this game will be a bit closer. We'll call it 27-21. I think Tennessee, Georgia will kind of be high. They've got 2 straight wins. They're going in the Rocky Top. I think Tennessee will be able to put up a good fight, but I don't think they'll get it done. Next up, we've got Iowa taking on Illinois. I'm taking the upset. I'm taking Illinois. I don't even want to talk about this game. I don't know what the final score will be. I can't even say. It'll be like, I don't even know, 17-12. Don't take that one to the bank. That game could go either way. But Illinois, their backup quarterback looked really good against Minnesota last week. Put up 500 yards. And Minnesota, of course, the team that beat Iowa, was there a bit of antics involved. Yeah, but they beat them. So at the end of the day, they won. Next up, we've got Wake Forest taking on Notre Dame. Notre Dame 24.5-point favorites. You know, this is kind of the same Hartman revenge game. He's coming back to his old school. And I think Sam Hartman absolutely kicked Wake Forest to the curb. I think this game is not close at all. I'm going to say 30-7. This is just a terrible 33-7, 30-7, whatever you want. This game is terrible. Notre Dame wins. I said 30-7, so I don't have Notre Dame covering. So I have them winning by 24. The line right now, I think this is according to ESPN Bet, is 24.5. Next up, we've got North Carolina taking on Clemson. Clemson is 6.5-point favorites. I think that's a stretch wildly. And this is weird because North Carolina is ranked, but I'm taking the upset. Give me North Carolina. This is weird that it's upset, but give me North Carolina to win this game over Clemson. I don't know. I like North Carolina. They looked good last week, and I think North Carolina gets a surprising win on the road against Clemson. And I think they'll be extra inspired because Louisville loses. Now that means that they'll be in to the ACC title game as long as they can just win out. So yeah, I think they'll be a bit extra. And of course, Louisville even has a bit of a more difficult game next week when they take on Kentucky as well. That could be another loss. Kentucky is is no slouch. And, it's a rivalry game in Kentucky, in the state of Kentucky as well. So that could definitely be interesting. So, yeah, I think North Carolina, they really got something to play for. And I'm taking North Carolina. Next up, we got Minnesota, Ohio State. I don't know. 38-3 again. Can I say that? No, this game will be like maybe, I'll say, a little bit closer, 31-10. Ohio State doesn't cover, but they win by 21 in dominating fashion. Next up, we got Oregon, Arizona State. Oregon's 23.5-point favorites. I could see this game being a little closer. 36-14 final score. Do I have Oregon? I don't have. Yeah, that's why I said it was a bit closer. I don't have Oregon covering, but I do think Oregon will win this game dominantly. They'll put up some points against Arizona State. I could even see this game being 44-16. I could see that too. Oh, that's an Alabama fan. That 44-16. That score brings up some bad memories, and we just talked about Clemson. Next up, we got Oklahoma State taking on Houston. I'm taking the upset. Give me Houston. Oklahoma State got rocked last week against UCF, and I predicted it. And I love Ollie Gordon, but sadly, I am fully off the Oklahoma State wheel. Give me Houston in a game. I don't think this will be that much of a higher. This could be a high scoring game, but I don't think it will be a higher scoring game. I'll take Houston 24-20. I think this game is close, but I think Houston gets it done. Florida State, this is another game I really don't want to predict. 80-2. North Alabama just gets a safety. That's their only points of the game. I don't know. I have no intrigue in that game. It's going to be terrible. I'm not watching it. No. Maybe I'll watch. It's on the CW. What are you watching that game? It's on the maybe I will watch. It's on the CW. That's terrible. That just shows you how bad of a game it is. It got relegated to the CW. Actually, the CW's had some good games this year. Not really. They've had one, which was North Carolina, Virginia. Next up, we've got the Kansas rivalry. We've got Kansas taking Kansas State. Kansas taking on Kansas State. I'm taking Kansas State. We don't know what Kansas's QB situations is gonna look like. And Kansas State, they look like a really good football team. They look really good. I'm taking Kansas State, and I think Kansas State moves up into the top 20, like I said they should. Next up, we got the game of the week. The big game, Washington going into Oregon State, going into Beaver Stadium. Oregon State, 2.5 point favorites. And I think Oregon State wins this game. I am taking Oregon State. I want to put respect on Washington, but Washington is just, they're so iffy. Their analytics are horrible. Oregon State, I think, will play better. I think they've got the better defense, and they don't have the better offense, but they've still got a really good offense. So I'll take Oregon State in a great game. Final score, we'll say 37. No, I don't think it'll be that high scoring. We'll say 34-28. Overtime win. Oregon State wins. Next up, we got Florida taking on Missouri. Missouri 11.5 point favorites. Missouri, people are saying, like, oh, maybe they could get tripped up. They just had a big win. They don't get tripped up. Missouri wins this game. I will say it'll be a bit closer. I mean, Missouri will still cover. I'll say 31-17. Missouri covers. Next up, we got Texas taking on Iowa State. I'm taking the upset. Texas has not looked that great the past couple weeks, and I'm taking Iowa State to get the upset. And then last but not least, we got LSU taking on Georgia State. I don't know, 52 to something, 52-17. Georgia State isn't terrible, but they're nowhere near good. So we'll say 52-17. LSU beats Georgia State. We'll check back in terms of college football a little bit later. But that's the video. We went through the college football rankings. We talked about all the games. I hope you guys will enjoy the video. Make sure to like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. All the things the YouTubers say to do. Like, subscribe, comment. It helps the algorithm. Something like that. Just do that. It helps. And we'll see you guys in the next video. We've got an NFL video coming out today. We've got a Giants video coming out tomorrow. Of course, New York Giants, that's the team. We'll see. Maybe we'll have some video we'll try to see. We have an NBA video end of the week. Probably sometime Friday if there is one. And yeah, that's it. That's about it for the video. See y'all next time. Peace. This was a longer one, but I hope y'all enjoyed it. Peace out.